Today I'm going to give you 5 proven methods for increasing and boosting your self-esteem. Because here's the thing, a lot of us suffer with low self-esteem. This was me and sometimes still is me. I still need to work on my self-esteem further, but I've come along a long journey so far because I was someone that really suffered from low self-esteem. So is this you? Do you sort of sometimes think that you're not quite good enough? Do you ever think that? Do you ever compare yourself to other people, thinking that somehow other people are better? Do you ever not take action because you don't quite feel that you're ready or quite good enough? Do you not feel worthy? Do you not feel deserving enough? Do you feel a bit of an outsider sometimes? These are all indicators of low self-esteem. Do you have trouble making decisions? Do you always give in to people? Do you always say yes to people? All of these are indicators that maybe your self-esteem could do with a little bit of a boost, because when you start to gain self-esteem, then you start to become in control of your life. Why? Because you're more in control of your mind. You're not letting your mind just take you out of it, telling you how you're not good at this and not good enough to do that. So what you start to do by controlling your mind and increasing your self-esteem, you start to really be the person that you were born to be, someone who's in control of their own destiny, that's using their gifts, that's really, going in the direction that they want to go. So here's my tips for you today. And there's lots of tips, but tip number 1, recognize the fact that you've got low self-esteem and recognize the fact that that is a story. You've made it up. It isn't necessarily true. Even if you have suffered from this thing called low self-esteem, any day, any time, any minute, you can make a decision to make changes. You don't have to give in to that. So you weren't labeled with low self-esteem at birth. You weren't labeled with low self-esteem at birth. So recognize that it's been holding you back, but recognize that it's been a story that you've made up, a story that you created, often in childhood, often subconsciously, you created this story. Okay, so recognize that, know that you can change that. That's the first technique. Sounds a bit obvious, but it's very, very powerful. You've got to do that. Here's another one. What people with low self-esteem tend to do is they're more pessimistic. They're looking at all the negatives, particularly in their life. So what you have to do is you have to start flipping that. Start to look at the positives, because you have so many strengths. I guarantee you that. You've had so many wins. You've accomplished so many things. Let's just have a look at some of those things. Did you learn to talk? Did you learn to walk? Did you learn to run? Did you learn to read? Did you learn to write? Okay, there's just a few examples. Now, probably if you're watching this, there's probably at least one of those things that you can actually do. But if not, look at other things. What else have you achieved? What else have you done? You've had lots of wins. Did you turn up to somewhere on time? That's a win. So recognize whenever you have those wins. And then what you can actually do is you can celebrate as well, because they are successes. So acknowledge them, celebrate them. So I've done various things. To start with, I started writing all my wins down, all my main successes throughout my life. That was a powerful process for me, because it started to make me realize, in actual fact, I've achieved a lot. I've done a lot of good things. And you start to recondition your mind to, instead of just looking at the negatives, to actually start to look at the positives as well. So writing them down can be a great thing, and just celebrating the wins. So at the end of the day, you can celebrate, think, what did I do well today? What did I achieve? What did I accomplish? Did I act in any way like the person I want to strive towards acting like? Did I do that? Did I get any compliments? Did I get any, freebies? Did I win anything? Anything like that is a success, and you can start to celebrate it and feel good. Do your happy dance, do your happy song, whatever it is, okay? So next thing, Next technique or methods that I've written down here, the number 3 is to tell yourself that you love yourself and you fully accept yourself. Good and bad, good and ugly, positive and negative. Okay. Now, if you find it hard or strange to look at yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say, I love you, then maybe just start with, I like you, or, I can accept you, or something like that. Start off with the wording that works for you. But you want to get to the stage where you can say, do you know what? Yes, I love you. I love myself. Okay. Because how can you expect other people to love you if you don't love yourself? So you really want to start to get to the point where you can feel like you love yourself. Now, a big part of that might be forgiving yourself for all those things you've done wrong and all the times you made mistakes and done errors and all that, and that will never stop. Okay, we're always going to make mistakes, we're always going to have failures, etc. So it's being okay with those, and it's embracing the whole of you. Okay, not just certain characteristics, certain traits, because let me tell you something. We all have all traits. Everybody has all traits. Some traits might be more prominent than others, and we use some traits in certain situations and certain areas of our life, but all traits are there within us. I guarantee you that. So start to recognize that and embrace that and love yourself. That was technique number 3. Technique number 4. Technique number 4 goes hand in hand with technique number 3. Try to avoid comparing yourself to others. Now, there are some advantages to that, because what you can do is if you see someone that is demonstrating certain traits or certain successes or achieving certain things that you want, yes, you can learn from them. So you can say, well, I'm currently here, I'm doing this, they're doing that. What can I learn from them? That's brilliant. That's a great tool. That's what all successful people do. And they model themselves sometimes on other successful people. But the problem is when you start to compare yourself to everybody else, you start to see the good in them, the qualities in them, the things that they've achieved. You start to big them up and put yourself down. So you've got to just say, well, this is their journey. We don't always see all the blood, sweat and tears and challenges that they've actually had. We just see the good side of them, the side that comes out on social media. So recognize that they've gone through a lot of challenges as well, and they've got through them. They have certain gifts, certain talents, but you have certain gifts and certain talents as well. You don't always recognize that. We don't always recognize our own gifts and talents. So let's try to stop comparing ourselves to other people. Try to compare yourself to yourself. Compare yourself to where you were last year. Compare yourself to where you're going to be tomorrow and next year. It's your journey. Are you moving up in that journey or going down in that journey? And my last tip for today is really for you really to truly build self-esteem. For you to see yourself in a different light, it's got to involve this one last thing. Because we could do all the mindset work, all the visualizations, all the meditations, all the NLPs and all of that. But ultimately, we are probably only going to truly, really believe that we have changed as a person if we actually see ourselves changing and experience those changes. So that requires action. It requires you to take action. So my advice is to start off with something now. Start off with something small. If you've got low self-esteem and you think that you're no good at something, you're worried about this, you've got this fear and that fear, etc. And I've had them all myself, still got a lot of them myself. One way to start getting through that and see yourself in a different light is by taking action. Start off with something that's achievable. Okay, do that. Achieve it, celebrate, recognize that you've done it, recognize that that's been a success, and then take another step, do another action, and on you go and on you go. You keep doing that and you start to realize that you have increased your self-esteem. You are seeing yourself in a different light. You are seeing yourself as someone who can take action. You're seeing yourself as a courageous person. You're seeing yourself as someone who doesn't procrastinate. You're seeing yourself as a successful person. Okay, so you start to see yourself in a different light. Now, if this is resonating with you, please comment below. I see a couple of people are watching. Let me just see if there are any comments. Here we go, turn that off here. So feel free to put a comment. So let me just summarize those 5 methods very quickly. If you are suffering from low self-esteem, or you know someone else that's suffering from low self-esteem, these are my 5 tips, and there's lots more of course, but these are 5 tips that I've used and applied myself. First thing is recognize that is a story. We all make it up. It's not necessarily true. We're not born with a label stamped on our heads. Okay. Second one, start to look at your successes. Start to look at the good, the positive, because we tend to look at all the negatives. You can journal these things down, write them down. You can celebrate them at the end of the day, whatever successes you've had, but look at the positives. Number 3 was tell yourself that you love and accept yourself. Embrace yourself, the good, the bad, the yin and the yang, okay? And tell yourself that you love yourself. Start to do that. Number 4 was try to avoid comparing yourself to other people. Just compare yourself to yourself. There was a bit more to it than that, but that gives you a bit of a snapshot. And number 5 was to take action. Start off with small goals, and as you take action, you will start to see yourself in a different light. So if that has resonated with you, feel free to ask me any questions. Feel free to put a comment. Feel free to share this so that who else needs to know this? Who else could do with that confidence boost at the minute? Who else could do with increasing their self-esteem? Because I tell you what, by me increasing my self-esteem, it allowed me to do things like this. It transformed my life and will continue to do so the more I work on it. Okay, so give other people that gift of helping them as well. Thanks for watching. Now, before you go, make sure you download this free, powerful visualization that I've given you access to. The address is on the screen. Just type that out and you'll get instant access.